This Hangout on Air is live. All right, man, we are here.
Nice.
Uh, Welcome back. What's going on?
Well, I had a really great vacation, as you can tell, and we already recorded a lot of very good episodes, I think, yesterday, and that will all be airing next week, which you
Hmm.
dubbed David Week, which
Well,
I
if this week
appreciate.
was Chris week, yeah, next week is David week.
So,
And you came back fired up, and like, the listeners know that we're working together on a couple of projects, and you were like running through. I mean, you got caught up in like half a day, and so that was it's always good. Like you went on vacation at a time that was like, holy smokes, now you're gonna go on vacation, which there's never, you know how it is. It's like never a good time, but it obviously did some good because you came back all fired up and you got these topics you want to talk about, and so
yeah.
um, yeah. So this we recorded a bunch yesterday, and that'll come out next week, and it was basically here's what David wanted to talk about, and it wasn't one was technical, but the others were like pretty broad. So I think they were good episodes.
Yeah, and it's like you said, there's never perfect time to go on vacation, but I'm the kind of person who usually wouldn't go on a vacation if some other forces wouldn't pull me towards it. Let's phrase it like that. But it's
Yeah.
really helpful. I mean, you really have to do it. You really have to um, recharge your batteries and get some new ideas in. And it doesn't mean you have to completely trying work related. I was reading a book I was trying to read for a long time, and it gave me some good ideas, some more ideas for the business. But it wasn't actual work, it doesn't drain any of my energy. In fact, it is more inspiring. And so I really
Yeah.
recommend it. You shouldn't go without a vacation for a whole year or something like that. It's probably hurting you
Right.
more than keep working.
When I was in corporate world, when I got to the point where I could call more of my own shots, I forced myself, or like to uh, I committed to myself that I would take a vacation every quarter. So even if it was only like a 4-day weekend type of thing, but it was supposed to be like a week-long vacation every quarter. And I think you just perform better when you get these breaks and you know that you're going to have this break and be able to walk away from it and get kind of a bigger perspective. So, yeah, I'm glad you were able to do that. I think our next vacation is going to be to Ecuador, and that's going to be coming up soon. So we'll see when we pull that off. But more than anything, I'm glad you're back because one thing that I shared this a million times when I was recording by myself, and then we talked about it a couple of times yesterday, which will air next week, was the podcast is for a conversation, and without a guest and without you there, it was really like, it's not as fun. It's not the same thing. There's no learning happening, right? It's just me talking, and I think the episodes turned out okay, but it definitely clarified what the podcast is.
Yeah, I really liked it listening to it, but maybe for you, you don't get as much out of it because there's
Right.
no exchange. You just talk into a microphone, and but I really liked it. I love the business books. Do you want to give a quick review of the episodes in the Chris
Yeah.
week?
Yeah, so Chris week this week was because David was gone and we didn't have any guests lined up, kind of by design. Um, what I decided to do was instead of cover topics that are very in the news, let's say, topics that are topical. I don't think that's how you say it, but uh, I wanted to address like some of the questions that I get a ton of, and also it kind of reminded me that look, not everyone has this business education or knows what you're talking about when you say certain things. And so one of the top questions I get, I mean, David and I are always talking about treat your app business like a business, and that at a very basic level that means like hiring a bookkeeper and it's implementing analytics and trying to make your apps actually better instead of just guessing what the market wants. But it also involves things like accounting and hiring and managing and all these things that I just have taken for granted that people understand what we're talking about. So I tried to answer some of those questions, and I started with what I thought were the two or three best places to start for a general business education. And it reminded me how great these books were, just reading, talking about them. But that was Monday's best general business books. And I really think that there's so many books on like lean startup and Scrum and how to build an app company and all these things. Sometimes you need to take a step back and look at the overall picture. And if you missed that episode, the quick ones were the Entrepreneur Mind, which is outstanding. Breakthrough Entrepreneurship, which is something that doesn't get enough love and is outstanding. I think the third one was Built to Sell, and that's one we talk about often in other episodes. So I think for $30 and a week of reading, you could be caught up with, I mean, seriously, with a lot of what MBAs have and spend 100,000 in 2 years trying to figure out.
If I can only read one of those, which one would you recommend starting with?
Yeah, for general business, I would start with the Entrepreneur Mind.
Okay.
Built to Sell is really good for focusing your business and understanding that niching down and outsourcing and creating SOPs is a good thing for your business and is not a bad thing. Like removing yourself as an integral piece of your business is a good thing for your business. So if you're struggling with that, then Built to Sell is great. But the Entrepreneur Mind is outstanding for I mean, it's 100 things that this dude learned in creating businesses, and I was reading it shaking my head going, oh yeah, this is a good reminder, or oh, I totally agree, or oh, this is a new insight. I would say it's outstanding. If we could get that guy on the show, if we decide to go a little broader with some of the entrepreneurial topics, it would be awesome because he really wrote a great book. I think he's about my age. And then Breakthrough Entrepreneurship is outstanding, and it's a good reminder that, look, you don't need to spend $3,000 on your first app to test the market. You can do a lot of things for $500. And some of the biggest businesses we know right now started with $500 test the market ideas. So I think that's an outstanding book too, but I would start with the Entrepreneur Mind if you are a developer or designer or don't have business experience and just want to get like started. Yeah. Okay, so to keep going, ABP 81 was mobile business models. We talked a lot about, or we didn't talk, I talked a lot about different ways you can make money in mobile and making sure that people aren't feeling like, oh, I'm going to reskin apps and that's the only option because, shoot, we don't do that. I mean, we have this Vision Mobile report really opened our eyes to broadening the way we talk because we're not even doing a lot of the things that we think that our audience is doing, and I don't know why we make that assumption, but yeah, there's tons of ways to make money in mobile, and buying code and throwing on some new graphics isn't the only way, and so I talked a little bit about that, and then Thursday was favorite tools, and I just thought that was a good chance to, I think we should do that like a monthly or quarterly report, like our favorite tools report this month or this quarter. That's why I named it August 2014, because I could see us doing that every once in a while with, there's always new stuff coming out, and knowing what tools are out there is, I swear, a big part of the battle. So that's something we haven't talked about offline yet, but I could see that being a recurring segment where we share some of our favorite development, design, marketing tools.
Absolutely, and it's really in this industry where stuff's changing so fast that there's going to be new tools, or if in competition, tools are going to get ahead really quickly of the competition, and then competition comes back, etc. And you really want to provide with the listeners with the best information at the time. But also to what you said in regard to what the listeners' business models that they try to follow could be. I think it's a worth addition to the podcast that we go with business to business and these kinds of things. And it just
Absolutely.
came about because that's what we are doing right now a lot, and we're not really doing a lot of customer-focused apps at the moment. But we also talked about that once we have some of those projects up and running that we are very hard working on right now, we want to go back at that as well. So we really want to cover a spectrum of business models, and I think in the long run that's not a bad idea because you don't lose touch. You always stay up to date with what's the latest retention mechanics, what's the latest monetization methods for consumer
Mm-hmm.
apps, but also you have a wider range of revenue streams and not just this one revenue stream from Apple, for example.
Right. Yeah, I almost bought, and I might still buy, excuse me, Trey Smith's Build Box, and it's his latest game engine. And it appears to be the game engine he's been trying to build. Like he's had released several different game engines, and this appears to be the one that he's going to keep investing in and keep making better. Excuse me. And part of the reason I'm not super into those kind of games, but part of the reason I'm interested in buying that game engine is because it exports to so many different stores and formats. Like it does Steam, which is like PC gaming, and it does Amazon TV, and just a lot of different stores and formats that just spending $3,000 for the experience and the education might be worth it, right? Even if we don't make our money back, just understanding, getting ahead of the market a little bit, understanding how to publish apps on Amazon TV and these kinds of things is probably really worthwhile. So it was, yeah, we talked yesterday about kind of challenging ourselves to get involved in everything we're talking about. I still have an app portfolio, but I haven't released a new app in like 2 months, and it's just I haven't shared this with you, but there was a article last week that I talked about where it was a game, or sorry, it was an app a month the dude released, and I think that would be a really great challenge for us, is to build a system where we could build out an app a week, or sorry, an app a month, and that's a big enough app that we could invest landing pages and some social media marketing and stuff too. And but it would, at the end of 12 months, we'd have 12 apps that would be worth reinvesting and all that kind of stuff. So definitely a reminder that we need to, there's value in getting involved in all the stuff, like hand to hand, that I don't want to say we're talking about, because we are involved in this stuff. We do have apps in the App Store and everything, but I think it's continuing to release apps and continuing to build consumer apps.
Yeah, staying up to date and keeping your finger at the pulse of what's happening and what's the latest and greatest.
Yeah, because everything we did became business to business. I mean, even the App Business MBA is a business to business offering, right?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's just kind of a reminder, like, we can do more, we need to outsource more. Just, again, this is a great thing for the podcast, is we say these things, and then we realize, oh, shoot, we need to challenge ourselves more, and even, like, take our own advice with outsourcing more, and, and while you're motivated and all back from vacation, all ready to go, it's like, okay, let's catch this wave and really, like, take on some new action with it. So I think that will be a focus over the next couple of weeks, is how do we take our businesses to the next level.
So,
okay, yeah.
David week, next week.
Yeah.
I don't know in which order we're going to release those, but it doesn't really
matter. Productivity is Monday.
Okay. That was a really interesting one, I think, where coming back from vacation, I was obviously, full of energy and really did get a lot of stuff done in just the first 2 days that I was back here. And I thought about some of the things I learned about just the topic of productivity. And it was a little bit inspired by your Business Books episode, where you said, we have business in the title, so we should probably talk more about business stuff as well. That's just general business stuff, and I believe that your business's productivity is kind of mirroring your personal productivity habits, and that's what we talked about. We just talked about our habits and how we think we can best apply them for most productivity.
Yeah, if you're struggling with this kind of stuff, I would definitely check out this episode. I think I've shared a lot on the podcast that, a lot of people like these frameworks for productivity, and, you have your Absenta done, and there's a lot of the 20 minutes on, 5 minutes off, or 1 hour on, or all these different tips and tricks for being more effective and efficient. And I just don't struggle much with that. But there's some folks, and I think that's one of my unique things, is that I can get things done. But I know a ton of people really struggle with this, like really have a hard time with this. And I would definitely check out this episode if you're one of these people that looks up at the end of the day or the end of the week and can't seem to have completed the things you wanted to get done, or you always have these ideas and they never they never I'm trying not to be super critical, but you have tons of ideas and you never see them through, and you got a new idea every quarter. And I think this episode will be really helpful because it's a good reminder of some of the things that David researches and that successful people and productive people are doing as habits.
Yeah, but
so
also
I really enjoyed that one.
It's a thing that takes really a lifetime to master, right? So even if you don't think you're that bad, or if you think you're executing quite well, I always appreciate tips by other people and suggestions how I can be more effective. That I really always try to up my game there. What is gonna be next? Which episode is gonna be next? Is it hybrid?
Hybrid, yeah.
So that was an interesting discussion, very relevant to internal discussions we were having. But there was also an article. I think we're gonna have this in the show notes as well, which triggered this. So that's the source. But basically, I was giving a little background speech about the state of hybrid apps, what they are, and if you should consider developing your next app with hybrid technology rather than native. And I think that's an episode that is maybe not easy to listen to, but it's kind of mandatory for everybody in our audience, because you're going to make another app, even if you are working on one right now or you just released one. It's not going to be your only app. Probably you're going to release another one, and you really have to every time make the choice what underlying technology is going to be most effective for what you want to do. And this, as I just mentioned before, this space changes really quickly, and this hybrid technology gets so much better over the last year or so that whatever you might have heard of it is outdated. So I'm giving you a little bit of the background there, what I think it can do, cannot do, and we're looking into this right now and really considering it for our projects.
Yeah, it's the benefits are so significant that you almost have to really understand why not. Like what are the reasons why not? And I think the most obvious why not for someone that's not technical is the ability to evaluate your project and see if it really is a benefit to do hybrid. But I've got you, so it's easy for me to say, okay, let's talk about it. But it's still, I think for the nerds out there, I think definitely listen to this one, because it was really, we were exhausted by the end of it. We took a break afterwards because there was like 40 minutes of like really, I don't want to call it technical, just like really a lot of exploring the topic, right?
Yeah. You asked a lot of questions, threw me off off my tracks a little bit, but yeah, that was good.
David had all these nice notes and bullets, and I just like destroyed them with questions. I'm like, hold on, is it really this, and is it really that, and why not this, and why not that? But I think David's really passionate about this, and I am big on it's as efficient as we can do it, let's do it. And if it means like not maintaining multiple code bases, and it means leveraging some of the web stuff where optimization is easier, implementing new designs is easier, all this kind of stuff, it's really worth really evaluating. So we're evaluating. We thought we would go this direction for opt-in mobile, but now we're to the point where we're doing the feasibility test, which is exciting. And there's no reason why we shouldn't do this for Macro and Mania and some of these other consumer-facing apps that we're starting to like kind of refocus on. So like we said in the episode, we'll be sharing our our journey, and I'm bullish on it. David's bullish on it. David actually knows what he's talking about, so he can be bullish on it. I can be bullish on it and not know what I'm talking about, but it doesn't mean as much. So we'll go, kind of figure this out. But yeah, it was definitely kind of like a heady, techie conversation that was like 40 minutes long. But I thought that was a really good conversation.
Yeah, and in the chat right now, Pierre is
Moving
with
right
us,
along. Yeah.
and he just commented that he's not convinced hybrid can give user experience they now demand and expect from native, and that's exactly what we're talking about, and that's exactly the kind of how do you say that prejudice that people have still in their minds, which just isn't accurate anymore.
It's a
And
challenge. Pierre's calling you out, David. So we
yeah, I
gotta
mean,
see if we can wrong or see if
yeah,
he's right. You know.
as soon as we decide to go that route and have something that we can show people, I'll be happy to do that. And of course, collect feedback, criticism, whatever it is, and then we can see if we can't be the how do you say the guinea pigs for our listeners.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're predisposed to wanting it to work, right? I mean, not to like cast you in an unfair light or say that you're super biased, but you believe you're going in believing that this works really well, just as well, if not better. And I'm kind of sitting on the back saying, I hope it works too, but we'll see, right? And so
Yeah,
we do have an impartial judge here.
no, that's
Well,
true.
one, it's the market, but two, it's like I don't really care. I just wanted
Yeah.
to what's the best solution. And so, yeah, it's going to be really fun to go through this journey and share because everyone thinks like Pierre thinks. And I think some of the questions I was asking were with that mindset too. And David is convinced that that's not the case. So we'll check it out. Okay, you
Yeah.
want to keep going?
Yeah, I think we have one more for David Week, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that was the onboarding discussion, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yes, that's right.
talking about user experience, onboarding is part of the user experience. It's basically when the experience the user has when you first open an app or first use it, and the experience they have is called onboarding, or your efforts to make that experience better is user onboarding. And we discussed the different strategies you could have, the different tactics you could deploy, etc. And there was some good sources which we also have in the show notes, which I do recommend you should check out. But we were really bullish on the progressive approach, meaning that you onboard the users by like kind of a learning by doing style, and showing them when they need something, how it works, instead of having like a big full-blown tutorial. But we cover all of that in that episode, and I think for really everybody who is considering how to figure out retention, make that better, that's a big part in that.
And this is why I love the conversation so much, is at the end of it, I kind of had this spark of a thought, which was, a lot of people might be going, oh, I don't have a game and I don't need to worry about onboarding and all this stuff. But I think, and I don't know this, like I'm just totally guessing at what the reaction will be, but again, the report showing that 80%, or let's go the low end, 75% of apps don't have analytics in it. You have no idea how many people you're losing in between download and purchase. Like you just have no clue. Like, okay, sessions, great. You have sessions with but that's analytics too, because Flurry has that. So if you don't know how many people you're losing at different spots in your app, then you don't know that this is a problem. We happen to know it's a problem because we have analytics in our apps, and we see that we're losing, right off the bat between download and actually opening the app, we lose 5%. So then, how many people of the people that open your app then get to your first custom event, let's say, which would be logging in or creating a character or passing level 1 or whatever it is, right? If you don't have that information, then you don't know that this is a problem. And let me just tell you, without ever seeing your apps, this is a problem in your app. I guarantee it. So we went over onboarding, and there's actually a lot of information on onboarding. And it's as simple, at a very basic level, it was things like don't ask for push notifications the very first thing before they've even interacted with your app at all. Don't ask for push notifications. It's just a bad user experience, and little things like that can make your app a lot better. So we explored that in some depth, and yeah, I didn't know that was going to be such a good, not like a conversation. I didn't know there's going to be so much data or like so much information. Like people have like broken out the different types of onboarding and just
No, it's a science.
yeah, we live in an amazing time where there's just so much information on everything. So appreciate everyone for sharing all this stuff. Um, and just a quick reminder, we restarted our newsletter, and again, if you're listening to this on Saturday or you downloaded this and you can tell this is a different kind of episode. Every Friday we do the Friday Live. It's a chance to, be a little less, polished. I don't know. We're not super polished on the regular podcast, but like my wife is like cooking stuff in the background right now, and like people are walking by the screen. Like we're just not as we're not focused on delivering like this professional audio output. It's more of a chance to talk about what we did the week before, and then talk about what we're working on, and have a little more timely conversation, a little more relaxed conversation. And then we try to share that with everyone. And then of course we have this abpweekly.com, which has a live Q&A going on, and we have chat with people that are here live. So then we added the newsletter. So if you want to receive the newsletter, which is just another chance to connect with us and hear some of our thoughts for the week, and really it's got a lot of links that we were inspired by the week prior. So you can go to our website, appbusinesspodcast.com, and there's a subscribe to the ABP, and there's subscribe to the newsletter. There's a couple different ways to get the newsletter. And while you're at it, join the Facebook group. We're having good conversations in there. So a lot of ways to connect with, it's connect with us, but it's connect with other people that are making stuff happen. That's the real important thing. There's a lot of folks doing cool stuff. So just a reminder of all those things to kind of like connect to. All right, man. What do you want to talk about now? You want to talk about specifics of Opt-in Mobile? You want to talk about the week ahead? What do you think?
Well, one of the things I wanted to share, because of the nature of the live, where we can talk about stuff that's happening right now instead of the episodes, which usually come out just a couple of days after we recorded them, sometimes more than a week, is that we made a tiny breakthrough or reached a milestone with Opt-in Mobile, where we have the first apps approved by Apple, which always is a concern. And now we're making progress towards releasing that first batch of apps, and that's it's a really good feeling, I think. And just wanted to share that tiny success maybe with the listeners, and encourage everybody to keep shipping.
Yeah, that's the key. Keep shipping. In fact, our plan for Opt-in Mobile, again, it's different because it's a business-to-business type app, is to ship an update every 2 weeks. I've been talking with Mehdi over at Stronglifts, and I put his app on my phone because I wanted to see what he was working on and see if I could offer some specific feedback. And he ships he must do 3 a week. I mean, he's constantly shipping updates, and he's killing it.
Yeah, he's killing it.
Yeah, and I think it was just a good reminder. I told him that if the one thing I got out of our conversation was to ship more often, that's great, because the kind of the standard position right now is not shipped very often because you lose ratings and all these other things. But I think
what he can gain from just making your software so much better is way more important. And also, just mentally, if you have this big barrier of, I shouldn't release because every release costs me all my reviews, and it's so hard and whatever, then you're just not going to ship early, because you're always going to be worried that, if I can only get this one more feature in my first release, then that's going to be better, because if I wait for the next release, that's going to be so much farther in the future. And if you ship very often, then that allows you to experiment more and to release an MVP, a real MVP, because you're not worried. You can just say, I released this today, and in 2 weeks I have my update with more fixes and more features.
Yeah, we're slowly moving away from trying to leverage the first 2 weeks to month of App Store presence. There's still tons of value in that, and being prepared for that. But we're starting to think much longer term and building apps that are built for longer term. And we don't expect the first 2 weeks to be the pinnacle of downloads, because we're going to be building our audience and investing in users and retention and continue to make the app better. I think that's the main thing, man. There's so many ways to do things that Apple wants or that Google wants for their Google Play Store. And if you just continually focus on what's best for your customers and not like, oh, I'm going to lose my ratings if I update it, if you just keep focusing on customers and delivering value in your app, long term, you're gonna benefit. I think. Yeah. I don't want to say for sure because you need data to say for sure, but in most industries and in most products, that tends to be true. And if it's anything like Google SEO, they're trying to get to what users want. So if you build for users, you guys are both heading in the same place, right? So that's how we're like building our apps and businesses, and it's probably different by type of app. But for these types of apps specifically, the opt-in mobile ones, where it's going to be something that is an app for 2 years, and the brands are going to continue to build their audience. Releasing very often is definitely a good strategy. And in fact, it's in the store now. It just propagated last night, so the first app is in the store. In fact, why don't we do a shout out? If you are an ESL person, English as a second language person, and like you're interested in, like you, and interested in daily tips on how to improve your English speaking, go check out Espresso English. And you know how sometimes it takes 24 hours before you can search by name before it shows up. Sometimes you need a direct link. So we'll do a link in the show notes, but then go check out Espresso English, and you can get an idea kind of like the MVP first version of what we're doing with in mobile. And you can see what we're talking about. We're going to drive like 10 downloads of your app right now. What else, David? I think continuing to share opt-in mobile stuff and maybe even app business MBA stuff is probably pretty cool because, again, it's like I'm curious on what other people are doing, and I want to hear the stats and the data and all that kind of stuff. So the more we can share there, probably is really good.
I only have 2 things left, and we don't need to drag this out for too long either. Mm-hmm. It's first, I want to give a real shout out to Mehdi, because his workout is just really awesome. So very off topic here, but I'm doing his 5x5 workout, and you can get all of that for free at stronglifts.com, and it works. It's just really good, and his app is cool and free as well. So check that out as well. And I use it like twice to 3 times a week. So it's an app that I really use a lot. So it's nice, and it's really improving. The second thing is to what we were talking earlier about, that the user interface, user experience not being up to the standards today. Check out showcase.ionicframework.com, and that's all apps built with particularly the Ionic framework, which I recommended on the episode as well. And check out some of these showcase apps there, and that's real apps done by third-party developers and using that framework. And check out some of their user interface characteristics. I think you're gonna change your mind.
Nice. All right, cool, man. I guess we hit it. We've got an interview coming up after this that we'll post in a couple weeks, and that should be really good. It's kind of like a look into iOS and things to start, iOS 8 and things to start getting ready for, and then I kind of called myself out on the newsletter saying, hey, this is what I was going to get done for the week. So we're up to, the original plan for the App Business MBA was 100 videos, 100 5 to 6 minute videos. So that's about, rough math is about 10 hours of content. Well, the videos are about, on average, 10, 15, 20 minutes long, and we've got about 35 videos out there. So it's kind of like, well, we got our 10 hours of content, but it's just because each video is really, and there's just so much to talk about and context to provide for each thing we're talking about. So it's not like, you can't just say, hey, gamification, here's your tools. You should kind of sell gamification and say why, give some examples of apps that are using gamification for, better retention, better monetization. So long story short, there's tons of content in the App Business MBA now, and we're just going to continue to pump out, 5 videos a day. Basically, anytime I'm not working on Opt-in Mobile or BGB Island, where I'm pumping out video or tutorials. So,
I hope to be adding some videos next week as well. So we're gonna add videos continuously, definitely.
Yeah, so we're finding more and more that I think the target audience for App Business MBA is probably, it's certainly the new publisher, but developers, based on everything we're seeing, man, they struggle with business topics. And I'm reading some of the things that I'll share next week on Gama Sutra about this guy who created an agency and made no money and had to fold the agency. And there's just so many stories of developers who think they can go make stuff happen without any concept of business stuff. And it's just like, gosh, we have a huge market in helping developers understand that they need help when it comes to business, and so that might end up being a really strong market for us. But yeah, if you're a developer that's struggling with this kind of stuff, or someone that's brand new to mobile apps, I think the course is really coming along really well for you. And then the more advanced folks, we're working on getting some really kind of high-level guests for our monthly Ask an Expert, and trying to get more forward, more, how do you say it? Not like emerging technologies, but more aggressive things, like the in-game gambling. We're trying to get those guys to come on and do a tutorial on what they're seeing in their best apps, and what we need to be thinking about if we want to do in-game gambling, because who knows, that could be an amazing opportunity for a lot of the members of App Business MBA. So that's the direction we're going. If you're interested, we've got a webinar coming up Thursday, the 28th. Otherwise, you can check out appbusinessmba.com. That's kind of a passion that we're going to continue to invest in over the next several. I mean, I think it's something that we'll be working on for years, I hope. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, really appreciate all the comments, and it seems like we're getting, like I mentioned Eric Seifert in a tools episode, and he was on the podcast page saying thanks for mentioning me. So somehow these guys are hearing about us or listening to us, so that's really flattering, and we just love the interaction. So anything that's on your guys' mind or want to hear about, or any guests that you guys are interested in, please let us know, either in the Facebook group or the comments section, or email us. I think what am I Chris or Chiji? Do you know what's your email address? How about that?
What's my email address? David.
Yeah, is it David?
Yeah, David@podcast.com. Yeah.
Perfect. Let's do that.
Yeah.
I'm Chris. Okay. Some of them I have Chiji at. So, but yeah, man. Any parting thoughts, or you ready to go hit it?
Let's go back to work.
Yeah. We'll talk next week, and thanks everyone for checking us out. We'll see you on the next episode.